What's up guys, this is KH Unlimited. Welcome to episode 21 of Spill the Tearal, a JRPG podcast where we talk about JRPG news, releases, mechanics, what I've been playing, want to play, and more. And this week we're going to be talking about some Nintendo Direct JRPG announcements, which I missed last week, so I'm going to be going over all of them this week. I'm going to be talking about some news that came out this week. I'm going to be talking about battle passes, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, and more. And so, like I mentioned all the time, if you are listening to this podcast on audio services, please leave a 5-star review. Leaving 5-star reviews, subscribing to the podcast, it all helps out immensely. That's like really the only way for an audio podcast to get out there. So if you do that, thank you very much. And if you haven't done that, please do that. I would appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, comment, all the usual stuff. And I also have a Twitter at Spill the Tearal if you're not already following me there. And a couple things I want to mention before getting into the episode proper is I'm going to be hopefully trying something with this episode only on the Spill the Tearal YouTube channel. So I mentioned this before, but I have 2 YouTube channels, KH Unlimited and Spill the Tearal. Spill the Tearal is where I only do Spill the Tearal. And if I have time, what I want to do is try to upload these segments separately on the channel and see how they do. I'm not sure how they would do because at least on the KH Unlimited YouTube channel, whenever I do a cutout of a segment, I heavily edit it down and I try to package it in a way that it would be enticing to click. But on Spill the Tearal, I want to try something where I pretty much just upload a segment as is and see how it does. So for example, I will have a video called the JRPG news video of the week. I'll have one called the what I've been playing this week video of the week, the top casual list video of the week, etc. And they'll be unedited. It'll just be a cutout of the segment. And I'm just curious to see how they would do, because the way podcasts work is a lot of people just listen to a certain segment of the podcast and that's all they listen to. So if there is someone who listens to this podcast only for the news, they might just check out the news video every week and that'll be enough for them. Or if someone only cares about the top 3 lists that I make at the end, maybe they'll only check out those videos. I don't know. They don't really seem that clickable in my opinion, but like we'll see how they do. And maybe if they do good, maybe I'll keep doing them. But I want to do it for a few weeks. I'm going to be trying it with this episode. Hopefully, I think I have enough time this week to kind of make the cutouts, and it's going to be tiring. I'm going to make all the thumbnails for the videos too. But yeah, that is something that I want to try. Another thing I want to mention, but this week's episode, it is a regular episode, unlike last week, which was a special episode, which was really fun to do. It is a regular episode, but it will be a very news-heavy episode because there was hella news last week, which I'm going to be covering, and there was some news this week too, and so I'm going to be covering all of that. And like I'm looking at my notes, and like the news covers a lot of my notes page here, so yeah, get ready for a lot of news this episode. And other than that, let's just do the cool thing that I like doing where I kind of show something that I have, which I think is dope. The thing that I want to show today is, I mentioned last week that I got a 3D printer that my brother gifted me. I 3D printed these little like action figure dummies that I want to show off, which are cool. Hopefully it'll focus. So for people who are listening, I'm showing like this mini 3D printed action figure. This one I printed in gold and white. He has like a hat on, he's holding a sword, it's cool. The first one I printed is this one, which is like a white and yellow one. I just have him in like a stupid pose of him kind of with his hands on his head. But these are like super cool action figures. It's made by a guy, I believe his name is Lucky13 or Dummy13, one of those. I feel bad that I can't remember right now. But yeah, his action figures already have a 13 on it. And he has a lot of action figures. Like these are like the simplest ones, but he has ones that are like a lot bigger and more like jointed. They could be in more, you know, configurable moves, but these are really cool and I really like them. And like they're like the rare action figures where like you can pose them, you can stand them up easily. He even makes stands if you want them like to have aerial poses. But I printed these, I was super impressed. It took like 30 seconds to build them too, so really fucking impressive. So if you guys have a 3D printer, check it out. This is really cool how nice these are. But yeah, that's something I wanted to show. And before getting into the podcast proper, I wanted to pick the random Spirited Away card as I usually do, if I can open this case. And this week, the card we are going to be picking is the 5 of Spades, and it shows the main character just alone, kind of like standing, honestly. She's just like alone on the street, and you could just see the dirt that she's standing on, I guess, and that's all we could see. And on that note, we will start with the first segment, which is JRPG news. As usual, the news stories that I have are all sourced from Gamatsu, so if you ever want to go into more detail of anything I'm talking about, just Google the game name and Gamatsu and you'll find it. And for a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about, they go into like hella detail for the games, and so if you really want to know about it, go to Gamatsu. They're cool. And like I mentioned in the intro, there is a lot of news I'm going to be talking about. A lot of it's going to be me kind of reading the synopsis so you have a better idea of the game. And so I'll just mention right now, sit back, relax, maybe have a snack on hand because this is going to take a while to get through. Hopefully not too long. But the first thing I want to start with, very quick, but The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak, a series I very much love, is already having a second game announced for the West. Technically not announced. It was leaked through a PlayStation leak apparently, where someone found the English version of the logo. So if you didn't know, Trails Through Daybreak is coming to the West on July something. It is coming out in July, so like literally in the next month. And so we didn't know about the second game, whether that was coming or not, and this kind of confirms that it is coming because someone found an English version of the logo in the PlayStation leak. So that is coming at some point. Honestly, it could come as soon as end of this year, maybe even early next year, because that's what they did with the Zero and Azure games, which is another duology where I believe Zero came out sometime in, I want to say summer or September, somewhere there, and then the second one came out like March the next year. So this may be the exact same situation where the Daybreak 2 comes out March in 2025, but we'll see if we find out more information. Obviously, I'll talk about it on this podcast, but that's the first thing I want to mention. The second thing I want to mention is a game called Riviera: The Promised Land, which is a remaster coming for PC, and it launches on July 17th worldwide, so very soon, within a couple of weeks. It seems like an older type of game because the sprites look kind of like hand-drawn-ish, but you could tell the remastered, it has kind of like the remastered look. It looks like they kind of upscaled the sprites. It is a isometric turn-based type game, and I feel like I might have covered this already on the podcast in a previous episode because it did look very familiar. But real quick, let me just read the synopsis so you have a better idea of what the game is. So it is: at the behest of Hector, who was one of the 7 magi, the grim angel Ein and his familiar Rose, along with another grim angel named Leda, all head to Riviera, an island floating in Asgard. On the way, Ursula, the guardian of Riviera, appears and is thwarted by the grim angel's intrusion. Ein, whose memories were sealed by Ursula's attack, wakes up in Elendia, where the spirits live. That was a lot of gibberish to me, but that is a synopsis. But yeah, that's just a kind of, quick picture of the game story if you are interested. I don't know too much more about the game. I just looked at the gameplay very quick, and that's kind of going to be how I cover a lot of the games where, like, if I'm interested, I'll go into a bit more detail, but pretty much I want to give you a quick look at the type of game it is, the synopsis, the type of gameplay it has, the visuals, and that's pretty much it. And if you want to look deeper into it, look into it yourself at Gamatsu if you want. The next thing I want to talk about is something very cool to me. Is there is a Kaiju number 8 game that is coming out on PC and mobile. So far they released a cinematic trailer, and the cinematic trailer looks fucking fantastic. Like, visually, I really love the style. It is a cinematic trailer, so I don't know if the game will look like that, but it shows, Kafka as a Kaiju. It shows a couple of other characters. I believe they showed Ichikawa. They showed the blonde girl, can't remember her name right now, but this is really exciting to me because I recently caught up to the manga. I believe I talked about it in a previous episode too, and I'm really liking Kaiju number 8. Like, I see it as a series that's pretty up there, and so the fact that this game got announced so soon after I caught up was a pretty good news to me. Other than the cinematic trailer, there isn't really other news. I don't think we know anything about the type of gameplay or anything like that. The only thing that we do know is that it's being made by Akatsuki Games. So I kind of went through kind of like online to see what other games they made, to see if I could get a hint of how this game might be. And some of the other games that they're making or made are Tribe 9, which is a game that I actually talked about, I believe, 2 weeks ago, which is a new game that's coming out, which is pretty cool. They're making an Atelier game apparently, and also they worked on Dokkan Battle, which honestly worries me a bit because I barely consider Dokkan Battle a game. If you've played it, it's very it's barely a puzzle game. And so hopefully the Kaiju number 8 game isn't anything like Dokkan Battle. It's more in my opinion, I'd want more of a Genshin Impact / Wuthering Waves game where that, in my opinion, is actually a full-on playable game that happens to be on mobile. And so if it's more like that, that'd be cool. But again, we literally know nothing about the game other than the developer. But yeah, if we get more news on it, I will of course cover it on this podcast. And the next thing we're going to be talking about, pretty much the rest of the news section, is the Nintendo Direct. Some of the information I'm going to be pulling about the game may have been from future information from after the Nintendo Direct, but I believe all these games I'm going to mention were announced or at least shown in the Nintendo Direct. So that's kind of the lens we're going to be looking at the games from. So the first game I want to mention is a game called Fantasian Neo Dimension. Now, this was a game that when I saw, I was pretty much following the Nintendo Direct on Twitter. I didn't actually watch it. This is one of the games when I saw, I was like, yo, this looks really fucking cool. I really like the art style. I really liked the character designs. They're not too complex. They're pretty simple. And the kind of pitch that was very interesting that they kept saying was that the person who was making it is the father of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. So obviously a big name, and also the renowned composer Nobuo Uematsu, who I've heard a lot about, and they're pretty much creating this game. And I thought this was a full new game, but apparently this is a remake of a mobile game. So I'm going to be reading this quick excerpt really quick, but pretty much the names I mentioned return to deliver an original RPG story. Experience an enhanced version of Fantasian, initially released for Apple Arcade in 2021, with brand new features including English and Japanese voiceovers and an additional difficulty option. In Fantasian Neo Dimension, assume the role of Leo as he journeys to recover his memories and solve the mystery of a strange mechanical infection destroying his world. So already from that, I think like everything I read from that is good news. First of all, it was on Apple Arcade, which is already a good sign. If you don't know what Apple Arcade is, that's Apple's kind of subscription service where you can play, certain games. And if you didn't know, the games on that are pretty high quality. They're not like the regular mobile games like Fruit Ninja or something where like it's very simple. Like they do have more like full-fledged RPG type games on it. And so the fact that this was a game that was originally released on Apple Arcade, meaning it was made for Apple Arcade, I do feel like the base game of this is, enough for it to be remade into a pretty full-fledged JRPG. So I do take that as a good sign. And also I do like the kind of last sentence that they said where like the main character trying to solve the mystery of a strange mechanical infection. That's really fucking cool. I don't know if I've experienced a story that had a mechanical infection. I don't know if that means like there's an infection going through mechanical robots or are people turning into robots. Like that line itself is pretty interesting to me. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another example I'll read off real quick is experience an original and modern take on the beloved turn-based battle system and a wealth of unique mechanics and strategic combat that shake up the classic RPG formula and explore a multi-dimensional universe come to life set against the backdrop of over 150 charming handcrafted dioramas. I don't know what the last part means with the dioramas, maybe like in terms of like settings or places or locations they have. But again, this tells us a bit more about the gameplay. So it is a turn-based battle system, which I really like. I looked at the screenshots that they had of the turn-based battle system. I honestly couldn't get a good grasp of like what the exact battle system was. Pretty much they show like the main character and it shows like a bunch of arrows pointing at the bad guys. And that's pretty much what they kept showing for the turn-based battle system. So it doesn't look like it is a full-on traditional battle system. It looks like it may be doing some original stuff, but like I couldn't get a good grasp of what it actually was. So I thought that was pretty useful to mention. And other than that, the last thing I want to mention is this last kind of synopsis that kind of goes over the story a bit, which is Bacteria, a deathly mechanical infection that robs humans of their emotions and lives, is slowly engulfing the world. The protagonist Leo awakens with only one memory left to him in a strange land abundant with machines. The human world threatened by bacteria, a machine world filled with mysteries, and the unseen dimensions that lie beyond both. Use the warp device that was left behind. Leo must now embark on an interdimensional journey to reclaim his lost memories and save the world from the bacteria infection. Okay, so that solves answers my question that I had of what the infection was. So it's called bacteria, and it's what I thought. It infects humans of their emotions and lives and makes them into machines. That's really fucking interesting. That's the path that I would want it to take. So it straight up turns humans to machines pretty much by taking away their emotions and lives. That's pretty dope. And they're obviously doing the trope where like the main character doesn't know what's going on. He lost his memory. So honestly, just from this kind of like synopsis, I'm really interested in what the game is. So I'll be sure to kind of check it out. And they also have this short trailer I kind of skimmed through and it looked cool. I really like the ship designs they had on it. They showed some of the robots and they had like this cool big ass world there too. But honestly, visually, I'm really liking how it looks. And from the story, I'm interested in it too. So this is probably a game I'm going to keep my eye on, especially because they have such huge names behind it too. Like, there's no reason for me not to check it out. But yeah, it is called Fantasian Neo Dimension if you're interested in looking into it deeper. The next game we're going to be looking into is Mario and Luigi Brothers Ship, which was also announced at Nintendo Direct. And just from looking at screenshots in the trailer, I'm really loving the visual style. They're going for more that hand-drawn, cartoony, exaggerated style, which I believe a lot of people had complaints on for like the Mario games that we've been getting. So if you didn't know, the usual Mario games like before Mario Odyssey, like the 2D ones, like New Super Mario Bros. People said it was getting very like clinical and old and that the style hasn't really changed since the Wii days and people wanted them to get more like wacky and exaggerated. And I believe since Mario Wonderland, I believe it's called, or Mario Wonder, people were liking the direction it was going where it was a bit more wacky. You had the elephant power up. And so I feel like this is taking it even further where you're getting that more OG Mario and Luigi art design. And one detail that I really liked and that is kind of proves that it's trying something new is that the color scheme is slightly different. So usually obviously Luigi is green and Mario is red, and they're still doing that. But if you look closely in the trailer, and I noticed this too, they have a gradient to their clothes, which is kind of cool. So like if you look at Mario's hat, it's not fully red, it's red, and if you look at the back of his hat, it's kind of gradients to purple. And same with Luigi, if you look at his hat, it's green and kind of gradients to blue. And usually that's something that would be done like with a filter or something, but they literally made the textures kind of baked in with that. But I thought that was a pretty small and cool detail that shows that they are going for something truly different, where they're actually not just using like a pure green for his hat and a pure red for Mario's hat, but like they do have something different with the textures itself. So that was a small detail that I noticed that I thought was pretty cool with the art style of this game. And while I haven't really played the Paper Mario games, I did notice that they did in this trailer pull some things from that. One of the things I believe in the Paper Mario games that you can do, or at least the RPG Mario games, was that it was a turn-based system, which this game is, but you also had like live elements during the combat. So like during the combat, you might have to do some QTEs and press them to do certain commands. And I noticed in this trailer there is a specific moment where like Mario and Luigi, they're like throwing a turtle shell between each other to hit the boss, and there were button prompts on the screen too. So I believe they're going to be doing the same thing where like it is a turn-based battle system, but you'll also be able to do some QTEs in between that to kind of give it more of a live feel. And before I end talking about this game, I'll kind of read the synopsis right here, which is: all aboard for an island-hopping RPG adventure starring Mario and Luigi. The brothers are back for a brand new entry in the Mario and Luigi series, where they set sail on a ship-shaped island, part ship, part island, to navigate the vast world of Concordia. Play as a mustachioed pair and explore the islands that range from tropical rainforests to bustling cities. Along the way, meet new friends to help you on your journey and encounter familiar faces from the Mushroom Kingdom like Peach and Bowser. Keep the brothership afloat and rely on Mario and Luigi's bond to save the day by employing bros moves to get past obstacles and powerful bros attacks to claim victory in a dynamic twist on turn-based combat. So yeah, that's the synopsis of the game, and honestly, this is the closest that a Mario and Luigi or a Mario game has come for making me want to play it. The only Mario type games I played in the past were like co-op games. The co-op based games were like if I want to play with my brother or something. But I've never ever been interested in like a single player Mario game like Mario Odyssey. I was honestly never interested in it because I just really don't care, and like I usually play games for stories, and I don't consider Mario games to really have real stories. And while this game doesn't really seem like it's going to do anything in the story department, the gameplay does look interesting to me because I am interested in turn-based games. Will I play it? Probably not. Again, I like playing for the stories, and I just don't like how Nintendo games never go on sale either. But nonetheless, it does look interesting, and I do like the direction that this game is going for compared to how stagnant it had been a while ago. I know it hasn't really been stagnant as of recent with like Odyssey and Wonder and stuff like that, but I'm really liking the path they're going with this game. But yeah, after this, we're going to go on to the next game, which are a lot of Dragon Quest announcements. So for Dragon Quest, we got announcements for Dragon Quest 1+2, and we have Dragon Quest 3. So let me break it down real quick. So first of all, for Dragon Quest 1+2, we are getting HD 2D remakes that are going to be released on 2025 for the PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. And I don't know really the context of these games, but apparently these follow the events of Dragon Quest 3. And so because of that, since 1 and 2 is coming after Dragon Quest 3, this is supposedly completing a trilogy, which is pretty cool. So if you want to get the entire story, you can play all three of them. And as a newer Dragon Quest fan who's been playing Dragon Quest XI, I thought it was pretty cool that the games are connected. I didn't know the Dragon Quest games did that. I always thought Dragon Quest was like something like Final Fantasy, where like every game is technically disconnected. So the fact that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 literally take place after 3 kinda is getting me interested in it. And if you haven't seen anything about the game, it looks like Octopath Traveler, where like the sprites are 2D, but they're kind of set in a 3D environment. It looks very beautiful. There's kind of like the bokeh in the background with everything blurring. I really love how the visual style of the game is. And yeah, so far it looks really interesting. And the other announcement is Dragon Quest 3, which is coming sooner. It is another HD 2D remake. It is coming on November 14th, which is, in a few months, for PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. And I honestly am excited for this game, mainly because I recognize the main character from Smash. So like whenever I use a Dragon Quest character from Smash, you kind of get to choose between a lot of different Dragon Quest characters, and this was the one that I chose because I just thought he looked the coolest. And the fact that this is his game, I'm like, oh cool, I kind of already know him a bit, so I always thought he looked the best from the ones from Smash. So like, I already have some kind of connection with this game. And so again, it's like Octopath Traveler in terms of the visual style, and it is turn-based. It looks like classic Dragon Quest. And let me just finish off by reading the synopsis right here, which is: years ago, the great hero Ortega bid farewell to his wife and child as he set off on a quest to defeat the villainous Arc Fiend Baramos. Ortega failed his quest, and Baramos still threatens the world. Now on their 16th birthday, Ortega's only child is summoned by the king of Aliahan and entrusted with the mission of the highest import to take on Ortega's quest, vanquish Baramos, and save the world. world. Accompanied by a band of traveling companions chosen in the beginning of the game, players are immersed in a vast HD 2D world full of towns, dungeons, and caves, meet fascinating characters, and fight ferocious monsters in enhanced turn-based battles. Now, what is interesting about this, I think the thing that stuck out to me the most is you're accompanied by a band of traveling companions chosen in the beginning of the game. First of all, the fact that they're chosen at the beginning of the game is interesting. Usually in JRPGs, you kind of meet your companions as you go on the adventure. But specifically, they say chosen. I don't know if that means that like they're gonna just give you the party as you start the game, or does that mean that do you get to choose who's your party? Like, I don't know if that's a thing, so that's pretty cool. Like, if you get to, for example, at the start of the game, you're in a town and you have like 10 characters and you get to choose like 3 characters in your party, that'd be pretty fucking cool. I'm not sure if that's what it's alluding to, but that is something that kind of stuck out to me from the synopsis. But yes, that was the Dragon Quest news of 1, 2, and 3 coming out. 3 is coming out sooner this year, and 1 and 2 are going to come out in 2025. Moving on, we still have a lot more games to talk about. It is a game called Farmagia, which is coming out on November 1st, and the art style looks like Fairy Tail, so I'm assuming whoever does the art style for Fairy Tail, the anime, is doing it for this too. And from what I can tell, I don't think we learned anything about the plot of this game, but some things that we did learn about are the characters, so let me just go over that. So we know about a character called Ten, which is the protagonist who often acts before thinking. We know about Archie, which is his childhood friend who balances both kindness and a competitive nature. Chica, another childhood friend with a more reserved demeanor. And Lucky Lou, Ten's sidekick and de facto mascot. And from the trailer, you kind of see this, and Lucky Lou is pretty much a mascot. It's kind of like this, I believe, one-eyed purple demon looking thing, which is kind of with them. And again, no gameplay was shown from what I can tell. It was covered in one of these showcases that happened, but yeah, that is a game that was announced and looks cool, I guess. We don't really know anything about it. The next game that I want to go over is Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero, which is supposedly coming out in 2025. And the art style of this game looks like Disgaea, if you've ever seen that. It looks like exactly the same. I believe it's made from the same developers. And so the characters are like chibi-like. The gameplay was kind of like isometric. So like the environments, in my opinion, didn't look that interesting because they were kind of like isometric and grid-based. And there was turn-based combat from what I can tell. And let me read the synopsis real quick. Set sail to save the day in this gridless, tactical, turn-based challenge for the creators of the Disgaea series. Join Morona, a gifted young girl with the power to speak to phantoms, and her loyal phantom companion Ash as she traverses the ocean world of Ivoire, providing aid to those in need. When a fleet of ghost pirates attack, it's up to Moranoa and her new friend Apricot to assemble the legendary crew that once defeated the spectral foes. Recruit phantoms, bind them to objects, combine them with gadgets, even merge them with Morona herself to unleash show-stopping abilities, and sink the shipwreck fleet. With over 50 characters and 300 skills to master, prepare for an unforgettable journey. That sounds insane with the 50 characters thing. I'm not sure if that's a normal thing with the Disgaea games. I want to say it is, even though I've never played them, because whenever I've seen like gameplay of Disgaea or like trailers, they always show like a fuck ton of characters. So maybe this is taking, from the same notebook. It seems pretty cool what you can do with phantoms is you can bind them to objects, combine them with gadgets, and even merge with them. So that's pretty cool. I don't know like how that actually works gameplay wise. And in terms of the actual plot, it seems very interesting because you're trying to make a crew of pirates that I believe defeated the original bad guy in the past, and so you're just kind of trying to assemble the legendary crew again to do it again. I think that's what it seems like from the synopsis. So story-wise, seems pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to play it. I've always wanted to try the Disgaea series, but I never got into it because I'm not really a fan of like the strict SRPG type battle system where you gotta be stuck to a grid and kind of do the battles that usually last a very long time. This seems like apparently it's a gridless tactical turn-based game, so it says it's gridless, so it might be more like the Trails games where like there's no actual grid. But yeah, we'll see with more gameplay. But I am cautiously optimistic about it. I'm not sure if I'll play it for sure, but it does look interesting. And maybe if this is actually truly like less tactical and grid based than Disgaea, maybe I can play this, like it, and then get into the Disgaea series from this, but we will see. And the next game we're going to go into is a new Legend of Zelda game called Echoes of Wisdom, which is coming out on September 26th. Now, in terms of the art style for this game, it looks exactly like the Link's Awakening remake, so it's kind of like the chibi style, very simple looking art style. The eyes are kind of like these black dots. That's how the art style looks. And the kind of gimmick in quotes of this game is that you get to play as Zelda, which is pretty cool. I believe that's a series first. I don't really play Legend of Zelda games, but I believe that is a first time thing that you get to do in this game. I watched the trailer. It kind of shows Zelda going around exploring the world and doing some puzzle solving. It seems like she's using magic to do shit, so it's like you can see her kind of like moving boxes, using items, kind of spawning objects to kind of block like gas pipes to get past, things like that. So like exploring the world by doing mini puzzles like that to move around. And in terms of combat, I couldn't really tell the real combat in the game. It just looked like she was kind of killing enemies as she kind of explored the world, so there wasn't actually like an actual battle you kind of go into whenever you meet a bad guy, from what I can tell from the trailer. And to end it off, here is the synopsis. It's up to Zelda and her wisdom to save the kingdom of Hyrule in a brand new story in the Legend of Zelda series. The people of Hyrule are being stolen away by strange rifts that have appeared, with a certain swordsman among the missing. Team up with the mysterious fairy Tree and use the power of the Tree Rod, it's probably the Tri Rod, to create echoes, imitations of things found in the environment. Then recreate those echoes wherever you like to solve puzzles and defeat enemies. Use echoes of water blocks to reach new heights, make bridges out of old beds, throw rocks at foes, or find your own creative combination of echoes to do things your way. You can even create echoes of monsters to fight at you side in combat. Join Zelda in her quest to rescue Hyrule. So that kind of answers of what I was seeing in the trailer, where like she was kind of spawning objects, so she was using this ecosystem they are talking about. And yeah, it seems pretty cool. And they say a certain swordsman is missing. I'm assuming they're talking about Link. And so yeah, sounds pretty interesting. I don't play Legend of Zelda games, so like I'm probably not gonna be playing this, but seems pretty cool that they are trying something new with this new Legend of Zelda. And honestly, I love when game series do this, where like they don't go full into like the AAA line of series. So like Breath of the Wild seems to be like their main Legend of Zelda game in the series, but I like that they still have like the side series of trying new stuff. I kind of wish every series did that. Like that's what I used to love about Kingdom Hearts. They had like the main line, but they used to do kind of like the smaller portable games. So the fact that Legend of Zelda is doing this is pretty cool. So yeah, it's coming out September 26th, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. We are nearing the end of this news section, so hold in there. We have another game called the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, which is coming out for Switch and PC, launching early 2025. And in terms of the art style, it looks exactly like Danganronpa. So like that's how it looks. If you know how the game looks, kind of like this anime style, and the specific anime style is like Danganronpa. And this game is pretty interesting because I was kind of like going through the Gematsu page, and one of the things that stuck out to me is that there are apparently 100 extreme despair-filled endings, which is, first of all, 100 endings is fucking insane. I don't know how different they are. They're probably like barely different. But the thing that was stuck out to me is that they're extreme despair-filled endings, which I'm not sure how I feel about, because usually when I play a game and I get a bad ending, I kind of feel shitty. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And I want to get the good ending as soon as possible. So the fact that there's 100 extreme despair-filled endings makes me wonder, how many good endings are there? Are there good endings to this game? So hopefully there are. I'm not sure, but that's kind of one of their selling points of the game. And a few other things they mentioned is that there are defensive battles where you protect the school from invaders. So like that's the battle system, like that's how it's going to be. And in terms of the actual like physical battle system, it is a grid-based battle system from what I can see from the trailer. And also they have like the normal JRPG thing where like there's free time and exploration segments of the game where you get to kind of deepen your bonds with teammates. So that is a thing that's also in the game. And again, the synopsis is: Takumi Sumino is a totally average teenager living in the Tokyo residential complex, a place where every day is much like the last and nothing bad ever happens. All that changes when freakish monsters attack the town and start wreaking havoc. A strange creature calling himself Sirai appears and offers Takumi the power to protect those he holds dear. All he has to do is stab himself in the chest. What the fuck? The next thing he knows, Takumi is in the Last Defense Academy, a school in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a wall of otherworldly flames. He and 14 other students have been drafted to the Special Defense Unit, a team tasked with keeping the school safe for the next 100 days. Okay, I kind of get why there's 100 endings now. How much are they willing to sacrifice to take back their normal lives and save the world from the grotesque school invaders? Oh, that's all. I don't know why I ended it like that. But that sounds pretty cool. It's pretty different from normal JRPGs, because usually in JRPGs where it involves a school, you're kind of living the school life, but then on the side you have the secret kind of like story of paranormal stuff. But it seems like in this, the school is the paranormal thing, where like the combat is very connected to the school where you're actually protecting it. And based on the synopsis, I can understand the 100 extreme despair-filled endings now, where like you have to protect the school for 100 days. They mentioned that you have to protect the school in the actual gameplay. And so like I'm assuming if you lose on any of those days, you get an ending, which is pretty cool. So that means every time you lose, you will get an ending, which is pretty dope. So like you have to survive those 100 days to get the ending. This sounds Persona-esque, honestly, and honestly sounds pretty interesting. I may be checking this out. It is only for Switch and PC, which is unfortunate because I prefer to play on PlayStation. But yeah, it is called the 100 Line Last Defense Academy. And finally, we're moving on to the last game of the news section, which is Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven, which is a 3D remake that is being made for the PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. Visually, it looks like the Saga Emerald game that came out recently. If you know how that looks like, it just looks like a regular 3D JRPG. It is turn-based from what I can tell, and I'm honestly liking the setting / kind of like the look of everything, where like it seems like it's taking place in a medieval time because everyone is armored. So like I really like the character designs, and I prefer that too because I enjoy JRPGs which have an urban setting, which this seems to have because it shows them kind of like in a town. And if you honestly want more details of the game, I noticed specifically for this game, the Gematsu article is like hella fucking detailed, where they go into every single character, character, the settings, a lot of gameplay features. They go fucking in depth. Like, it takes a while to scroll through it. So if you're interested in this game at all, check the Gematsu article. But let me read the synopsis real quick. It is the Imperial Year 1000. Terrifying fiends plague the land, and various nations struggle to contend with both this incursion and their own internal conflicts. The people wait and hope for the fulfillment of an ancient legend that foretells the coming of 7 great heroes who will save the ravaged kingdoms. Then one fated day, Avalon, the capital of the Varanus Empire, is suddenly and brutally attacked. The aggressor is none other than Kzinsi, one of the 7 heroes of legend. Oh shit. The people are crushed underfoot, and Prince Victor, the brave and noble heir to the imperial throne, is slain. The citizens of the empire are overcome with despair and the realization that the legends were false, but Victor's father, Emperor Leon, swears his vengeance on the 7 and their mighty powers. Whoa. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I was gonna, as I was reading that, I was like, okay, this is kind of like the thing, the trope where like there's X number of heroes who are gonna save the day, but the fact that one of them is the villain is pretty fucking cool. That's dope. And if it wasn't obvious yet, I don't read the synopsis ahead of time, so I can kind of give you my live reaction. So like, that's one of them where like that synopsis sounds pretty dope. So like, maybe I'll look into this. We'll see. But yeah, it's called Romantic Saga 2: Revenge of the Seven. It's coming out on PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. And that ends off our news segment. That was a lot of fucking news because I didn't do news last week, so I had to kind of build up. Luckily, there wasn't that much news this week. Honestly, this was mostly news from last week, so like, not the newest news, but yeah, that was the news from this week. And from here, we're going to move on to the next segment, which is JRPGs that are releasing this week. For the JRPGs that are releasing this week, there are absolutely none. But because I had the special episode last week, there is actually some releases that happened last week. So I'm going to be going over those. And so the releases last week are from the days of June 16th to June 22nd. So I'm going to be going over those. And there are 2 games that are released, which I'll be talking about. The first game I want to talk about is called Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Quest of Memories, came out on the PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC on the 20th of June. If you don't know what this is an anime, Jobless Reincarnation, pretty popular. I watched season 1 of it a long time ago. And yeah, so apparently from what I can tell, this game is just pretty much based on what happens in the anime. So the synopsis real quick is: immerse yourself in the world of the TV anime Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation in first-person perspective. You can re-experience Rudius' story by exploring the various areas, partner with characters of distinctive personalities while developing the skill tree freely, and fight through strategic battles that will test your wits. And pretty much what they said in that, it is first-person. It's one of those games where like when you're fighting enemies, it's from the first person and you have like 3 enemies on your screen or like something like that, and you just kind of fight them in first person. I've never been interested in that type of battle system, but that is what this is. The cutscenes look visual novel type 2, where like the characters just pop up in JPEG form and you talk to them. And for some reason I was looking through the screenshots, like what I explained is what the game is, but they had screenshots of like out of nowhere the game was like pixel art, 8-bit looking, isometric, and they were like playing a restaurant simulator. And I think they were using like the character Roxy in the restaurant simulator. So I'm not sure where the fuck that fits into the game. I'm not sure if that's a mini game within the game or if the game just like turns to that at some point. But that is a game that came out on June 20th. If you want to check it out, feel free. It is called Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Quest of Memories. The second game that was released on the 21st of June is called Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree expansion on the PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, and PC. Unless you've been living under a rock, this game came out, is doing pretty great from what I can tell. And this quick synopsis, I guess, is Shadow of the Erdtree is an expansion to Elden Ring. Dark and intense, Shadow of the Erdtree has players continue their quest with the freedom to explore and experience the adventure at their own pace. And I feel like that's a weird synopsis. I don't know why they had to write at their own pace. That's like how pretty much every game is. But yeah, this is an expansion. From what I can tell, from what I've been hearing about the game, is one, that is fucking amazing. Second, that this doesn't feel like an expansion. It feels like a 1.5 type of thing where like they could have just released this on their own and you could play it. And funnily enough, like my friends are like messaging and they're fucking loving it. They're playing it like literally right now. And so from what I can tell, it's very great. I'm not gonna play it. I mentioned this. I literally have a whole video on it, but I'm not a fan of Souls games unless it's like co-op. But yeah, that came out on the 21st of June. So if you haven't already, you can check it out. And those are all the releases that happened last week. And again, there are none this week. So we're gonna move straight to the next segment, which is a JRPG mechanic that I think is dope. Now, the JRPG mechanic that I think is dope. Now, this is a mechanic that doesn't have to be JRPGs, as you'll hear. And this is one of the weeks where this may be a hot take. This is probably a mechanic or a thing that's in games that a lot of people don't like, but I wouldn't even say I actually love when this is in games, and that is the battle pass. I fucking love battle passes in games. I know like this is something where like a lot of people when they see it, they're like, oh, what the fuck? But like this is one of those things, I believe I talked about gotchas in a previous episode. This is similar to that where I'm like, if they have a battle pass in the game, cool. if they don't, like, obviously that's fine too, but like when a battle pass isn't a game, to me that's just another motivator to play a game. And I mentioned this previously, but like my main motivator to play a game is the story. So if a game has a great story, I'll play it, and if like the gameplay isn't that good or whatever, like it's fine as long as the story is kind of like A1, I'll play the game. And when it comes to games without stories, a battle pass is a thing they can add for me to make me want to play the game, because a battle pass is a good way to have progression in the game. So one example, this isn't a JRPG, but Fortnite, for example, is a game where like there's no story. It is just a gameplay type game where you just play the game, obviously. But if there was no battle pass, I wouldn't play the game, because it just feels like a waste of time for me when there's no progression in a game. And so the fact that they have a battle pass where like you're actually leveling up and you're getting items as you play the game, for me makes it not feel like a waste of time. And even if I play for like 20 minutes, I could be like, oh, at least I leveled up my battle pass 2 levels, so I felt like I did something. So that's kind of like the feeling I get from battle passes. And obviously you have like battle pass type systems in different games. You're seeing it very often in like mobile games too. Wuthering Waves is a game I'm playing right now, which is a JRPG, and it has a battle pass system called the Pioneer Podcast. And unfortunately, all games, or actually no game, can really do a battle pass like Fortnite, where like they have like something really fucking cool like pretty often in the levels, where like they could have like skins and items and cosmetics pretty often. Most games can do that because that takes a lot of developer resources. So like it's usually done like the way that Wuthering Waves is done, where like every single tier pretty much is like an upgrade item for your character. So like things that you would need to like upgrade your character as you level up, and once in a while they'll have something cool. So like for example, funnily enough, I today bought the paid version of the battle pass of Wuthering Waves because I was like level 40 already. And I believe at level 30, if you buy it, you get like this cool weapon set. So I'm like, fuck it, the weapons look cool, so I just bought it. It was like $10. And yeah, I got the weapon. I'm like, yep, that's cool. And I put so much hours into the game. I'm like, yes, I'll give you $10. Like I don't fuck, like I could fucking, I'll pay for it because I really enjoy the game and I think it's a really good game and I want to support the developers that way. And again, I think Wuthering Waves is a game where like I don't really need a battle pass because I think the story is really great. But because there is a battle pass, it's useful because I caught up to the story like 3 weeks ago, and so there isn't any story for me to do, but I have been playing the game daily still, just to complete not only the daily quest, but also just kind of progress in the battle pass. That's just something that the game entices me to do. And if the game didn't have a battle pass, honestly, I would feel less enticed to play every day. And so, yeah, again, that is just something that's really cool. And you see this in a lot of games. You see it, and that's something that I like about this mechanic, is that you can really fit it into any type of game. So we first started seeing it in like Fortnite type of games, which are battle royales, but you're seeing it in JRPGs like Wuthering Waves. You see it in racing games like Disney Speedstorm, and in every game that's had a battle pass, I honestly cannot say anything negative about it. Like, I can't legitimately think of a reason why someone would be like, oh fuck, there's a battle pass in this game, I don't want to play it, because like it doesn't really intrude in the game at all. And if anything, it just adds to the game because you get free items from the free tiers, and if you want the good stuff, you can buy it. And usually battle passes aren't games that are free anyway, so like there's no like they're not taking away anything really. And so yeah, battle passes I think are just pretty dope, and that's pretty much all I want to talk about battle passes in general. And I guess one more thing I'll mention that I like about battle passes is that it kind of ensures a constant flow to the game in terms of like content. And so assuming the game is doing good, if there's a battle pass in the game, they're usually going on a season-based system. So like, depending on the game, obviously, but it could be that like every month you'll get a new battle pass, which means you'll get a whole new slew of items that you get to play for, which means you just have another thing that is motivating you to play the game, which is cool. It's like, yeah, it's not like you have one battle pass for like forever. It's like every 1 month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever the game does, like you'll get a whole new battle pass with all new items, which again, I think it's pretty cool. It's just you're getting a regular flow of content from the game. And yeah, that's again all I have to say about battle passes, but it is something that I think is dope and like honestly is welcome to be added to any game, because to me it is just like adding content than like removing it or intruding in like a negative way. And yeah, that's a JRPG mechanic that I think is dope. And the next segment is a JRPG that I'm looking forward to. Now, the JRPG that I'm looking forward to, this is going to be one of those weeks where I'm going to be talking about a hypothetical JRPG, as in this isn't really releasing, but this is a JRPG that I would look forward to. And this is a remake of Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I am one of those people that fucking loves this game and was very sad when I found out it wasn't being remade for the Kingdom Hearts like collection. So the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 plus 2.8 plus 3, whatever the fuck collections. They pretty much remade every game, but the ones that they didn't remake, they just added cutscenes for. And one of those are Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I believe they did the same with the Recoded and back cover. And I believe that's it. So Unfortunately, the games that they opted to make cutscenes for are some of my favorite Kingdom Hearts games. I love 315 over 2 days. I love Recoded, and those are the games that I would really want to replay as soon as possible because like those games are stuck on such old consoles, and those are the games where if they actually remade it, would be very different from their original, games. Where like Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts 2, when they remade it, they're pretty much the same game, kind of visually updated, and obviously they added some things here and there, but with Recoded and 358 over 2 days, they would have to do massive overhauls, which is obviously the reason why they didn't remake it, where the other ones are kind of like more like up-reses. These would have to be probably made from the ground up, but 358 over 2 days, I love the game. I think the story is probably one of the best in the Kingdom Hearts series, easily. Like, I think it's better than like even Birth by Sleep, which I know a lot of people love. I wasn't like the biggest fan of Birth by Sleep, and I really love that you get to play as Roxas. You kind of have this cast of characters where usually are the villains of the main games, but the fact that you kind of get to see them from the other side, like they are literally like your co-workers in a sense, where you just see the Organization XIII members just lounging around in the castle, just kind of like fucking around and talking to each other. It just kind of gives a more goofy and human vibe to them, which I really like. And the story is just fantastic. The entire kind of like trio vibe between Axel, Roxas, and Xion I really love. The storyline is interesting. The final boss fight, I guess I won't spoil who it is, but the final boss fight is really fucking cool. The music during the boss fight is fucking A1 too. So everything about the game I really loved. It's just that like it was stuck on an old console, or like old portable consoles on the Nintendo DS, so like it was simpler than like the modern games. But like if it was ever remade, I would hope they would actually remake it from the ground up and kind of make it more like a mainline Kingdom Hearts game. And it's funny, I have some notes here, but one of the things that I really loved about Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days is that they had kind of goofy weapons for the characters. So for Roxas, I believe they had like a Keyblade where I think it was just an umbrella or something, where you got to fight with an umbrella or something like that, where you got to fight with a normal object. And I believe every single character had a weapon like that. I can't remember like Axel's, but his was something goofy like pizzas or something like that, where he used those instead of chakrams. And the final thing that I really want to talk about is that I believe one of the most fun things about the game was the multiplayer. I thought it was really fun. It was kind of like this mission-based multiplayer where you kind of got to go through waves of missions with friends. But the coolest thing was that you got to play as so many characters. It was Roxas, it was Axel, it was Xion, it was every single Organization XIII member, and I believe Goofy and Donald were there too for some reason. And it was just so dope that you get to play as anyone. Like if you were like a fan of Larxene, you got to play as her, which you never got to do if you're a fan of Marluxia, same thing. And so the fact that you get to play as any of the characters, and it was pretty fun to play as them, was really dope. And if they could do that in a remake, that would be dope. I'm almost 100% sure if they ever remake this game, they would just probably cut that content out, which sucks. But I would just love it. Yeah, just let us play with the Organization XIII members. It was really cool to be able to use them and just make funny teams with people you play with. But yeah, the multiplayer mode is dope. The story mode is dope. It's just like I have like praises for this game, and I would love a remake of 358 over 2 days. So that is a JRPG that I would look forward to if it was ever real, which I don't know if it will be. But yeah, let's go to the next segment, which is what I've been playing. Now for the what I've been playing section, what I've been playing for the last week, and technically the last 2 weeks because I didn't cover it the last episode. But honestly, not much to talk about. I haven't been playing too much. I've just been playing Wuthering Waves, and in terms of what I've been playing with the Wuthering Waves, it's just been the daily content, as in just doing daily quests, fighting some enemies, doing some tacit fields to get some items. That's pretty much it. So like, there's really much to talk about. There isn't anything new. I haven't been doing any new side quests. I do have exploration quests, which are these longer kind of story type quests, but like I just like haven't had the energy to do them really. I'm honestly just waiting for the next story quest to come in and kind of jumping into that, which is gonna come very soon. I believe that's coming on June 28th, which is 2 days from when I'm recording this. So when that comes out, I'll probably play it. So like next Spill the Tearal episode, I'll probably have more to talk about the game if I have time to jump into that. So yeah, not much to talk about. Unfortunately, that is all I'm going to be talking about in terms of what I've been playing. So we're straight up just going to go into the last segment, which is the JRPG top casual list. Now for the JRPG top casual list, I thought it'd be fun to kind of connect it to the JRPG that I was looking forward to segment. And so I'll be talking about my top Organization XIII members. So like usual, I'm going to give my top 3. It's super casual. I just thought about them for the top of my head. And to make it more interesting, I thought it'd be cool if I did not put Axel, Xion, or Roxas into my top 3, because I noticed when I was making my top 3, I was kind of like fighting with like, should I really not be putting like Roxas in the list? He's pretty important and I do like him. And so, and with Axel and Xion too. So like I thought like, let me just take those 3 out and let me just only include the rest of the members. I thought it'd be a more interesting list in that way. So I'm going to give you my top 3 right off the bat. Number 3 is Marluxia, number 2 is Zexion, and number 1 is D-Mix. So number 3 is Marluxia. Why do I like him? Honestly, his design I just think is dope. I think his long hair is cool. I like his pink color scheme. I like kind of like the flower petals that kind of come when he's fighting with his scythe. And I really fucking love that he got so much more story in Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, kind of like who Lauriam is, his vibe, the way his character is. You kind of get that small bit of Lauriam at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 where he kind of gives Sora, I believe he gives Sora a card. I've only played Kingdom Hearts 3 once, I don't really remember, but like there's something more to Marluxia, and he's just been a very interesting character through Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key. I love his design, so like that's why he's number 3 on my list. And number 2 I have Zexion. Honestly, Zexion is more surface level stuff. I love his weapon. I think the book being a weapon is just really fucking dope. I've always liked books as weapons. I don't know why I find that cool. I think his character design looks really fucking cool with like his long hair from the front. It looks very anime. And I remember his boss fight really standing out for some reason. I just remember that certain mechanic where like you had to kind of stand in a spotlight, I think, where you're fighting him. I thought that just kind of stood out from the other data battles where like they kind of like faded into the sameness to me, from what I remember at least. And honestly, I really like his role in Kingdom Hearts 3. The fact that like, yeah, you beat him and now he's good again. He is Ienzo, the scientist, and he's kind of like straight up helping you in Kingdom Hearts 3. And again, I don't really remember Kingdom Hearts 3 that much, but I believe he was behind like, you know, getting Roxas back and stuff. And so like, I really liked his role in Kingdom Hearts 3. I liked his role in Kingdom Hearts 2. I really liked his design, his weapon, his boss fight. And so yeah, Zexion is number 2. And at number 1, we have DMX. DMX is like the Organization 30 character that's so ingrained in my memory, because when I played Kingdom Hearts 2 as a kid, the part that I freaking dreaded getting to when I replayed the game was a DMX fight, because that is just like, was like a heavy PTSD for me, where like you have to do that kind of time-based game at the start, you have to do this fucking battle, and then I believe you have to do the time-based thing again where you have to fight the nobodies. And as a kid, that fight was so fucking hard. Like, I remember like every time I'd be stuck on it for like, I want to say weeks for some reason. Like it was like a very hard fight for me. And on top of that, with the boss fight being so memorable, he just seemed like the only Organization member that felt very different from the rest, where everyone else was like, for the most part, very serious or felt like a villain, and DMX just did not feel like a villain at all. He was really goofy and funny, and I always thought it was funny that he always seemed very nice, but the reason he got really serious is when Sora just kept making fun of him or something. Like Sora never took him seriously, and then before the boss fight happens, he kind of gets serious all of a sudden and then starts fighting you. And so like, I really like his personality and vibe from Kingdom Hearts, and yeah, I just thought from the Organization 30 characters, he seemed the most different. And lastly, I think this is known to like every Kingdom Hearts fan, but he is, I think, the biggest mystery in terms of like the Organization members. He is someone that we don't know anything about in terms of like who he was before DMX. We don't know his real name. We don't know who he was as a character at all. And so like, that is just a very huge mystery. And the fact that a lot of the Organization members from their human life are kind of different from who they are from the Organization, I kind of wonder like who he would be as a person, because as an Organization member, he's very goofy. So like, I wonder what he would be as a human. Would he be more goofy? Maybe would he be like more serious? Like, I don't know. And so like, the fact that he's such a huge mystery and so different for the other Organization members makes it seem like he may be pretty important. And I know there's a lot of theories that like he could be the Master of Masters, because the Master of Masters is pretty goofy, or maybe he's like Lushu or something. I don't know. I don't really like follow those that much, but like, I'd be okay with any of that, honestly. He just seems like a pretty funny character, and if he had a very important role, that'd be even more funny, going back to Kingdom Hearts 2 and seeing kind of what a goof he was. But yes, number 3 is Marluxia, number 2 is Zexion, and number 1 is DMX. And from here, we will be ending the podcast. So thank you guys for watching or listening to episode 21 of Spill the Tearal. This was a long one compared to my recent episodes, and so if you made it this far, remember to like this episode. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're listening on audio services, remember to 5-star it. And if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at Spill the Tearal. And one thing I want to mention before ending the podcast is, in the next few weeks, there may be more special episodes like last week, as in like, I may be doing something that is easier on me in terms of planning, because these normal episodes take me like hours to plan, whereas a special episode is a bit quicker because I'm kind of focusing solely on one topic. The reason that there may be a few more special episodes in the next month is because there may be some changes happening in my personal life in terms of scheduling, and so I may be a lot more busy, at least for the next month or month and a half. And so if there are more special episodes, it's because of that. Sorry about that if you don't like it, but yeah, that is something that may be happening. Nothing set in stone yet, but thank you for enjoying episode 21 of Spill the Tearal. I will see you guys next week for episode 22. Peace.